The fire that ended everything. It was a quiet morning on the planet Zalara Prime. The sun rose slowly over the silver mountains. Birds with crystal wings flew across the pink sky. Humans had built a small colony here. They lived in peace for many years. Children played near the river. Farmers worked on their tall, glowing crops. Scientists studied the stars. Everyone believed Zalara Prime was safe. Far away from war. Far away from danger. But they were wrong. In the capital city, a soldier stood on the watchtower. He looked through his scanner and saw a dark shape in the sky. At first he thought it was just a storm, but then he saw more. Ships. Hundreds of black ships flying fast toward the colony. He pressed the alarm. The ground shook as the first ship landed, then another, then many more. Doors opened and soldiers came out, not human. Tall creatures in silver armor. Their eyes burned, red. Their weapons glowed with blue fire. At the center of the attack was a throne ship. It was large like a mountain and shaped like a crown. From it came the ruler of this army, Queen Virexa. She walked slowly across the burning fields. Her face was covered in metal. Her voice echoed like thunder. "The humans have broken the law," she said. "They built without permission. They took what is not theirs. Now they will burn." Her soldiers didn't wait. They moved into homes, pulled people out, and burned everything. Children screamed. Men fought back, but their weapons were useless. Everything was fire. In the science district, Dr. Ellen tried to send a message to Earth. Her fingers trembled on the screen. "We are under attack." "Queen Virexa, please, anyone help us." Before she could finish, a blast hit the lab. Everything turned white, one by one. The city fell. Towers crumbled. Streets turned black. The Queen's army caught the leaders and brought them to her. She gave them a choice: bow and I will mark you. Fight and I will burn you. They chose to fight. So she did both. She branded their skin with her iron staff, hot red circles carved into their flesh. Then she burned them alive in the center of the city. People watched. Some cried. Some ran. Some just stared. No one came to help. After the smoke cleared, the Queen stood alone in the ashes. "Let this be a lesson," she said. "Humans are not welcome." She left behind a broken city, bodies, silence, fire, and a warning, but not all bodies were found. 10 years passed. The colony was dead. A no-go zone. No one from the Queen's kingdom ever returned. People said it was haunted. The sky over that place turned red every year on the same day, the day of the burning. But now something was changing. A boy from a nearby mining camp said he saw people walking in the burned city. He said they looked human but wrong. Their eyes glowed. Their skin had marks that burned blue in the dark. Nobody believed him. But then a video appeared on the black markets of the galaxy. In the video, 5 figures walked through fire. They wore black cloaks. One of them turned to the camera and spoke. "You thought we died. You thought fire would stop us. You were wrong." The screen glitched, then showed a symbol, a circle with 5 stars inside it. A message played at the end. "Are back." In a faraway control room, Queen Virexa watched the video. Her metal hands gripped the armrest of her throne. "Impossible," she whispered. An old general stood beside her. "Shall we send hunters?" he asked. The Queen didn't answer. She just stared at the screen. The past was returning. Somewhere, deep in the ruins of Zalara Prime, 5 people stood in silence. Their clothes were torn. Their bodies were covered in strange patterns that glowed with a soft light. Each one had the same brand, the same burn left by the Queen. But now the mark gave them power. One of them, a man with silver eyes, looked up at the night sky. "She thought we were weak," he said. "She thought fire would end us." Another one, a woman with short dark hair, stepped beside him. "But we survived," she said. "And now, we burned back." They didn't remember everything. Not yet. But they knew one thing for sure. They were not the same people who had been branded and burned. They had died. And now, they had returned. Echoes from the ashes. 10 years had passed since the firestorm on Zalara Prime. The world had forgotten the screams. The galaxy had moved on. To most people, the colony was just a burned dot on an old map. Some said it never existed. Others said it was cursed ground, dead land under a red sky. But deep in the Empire's surveillance center, something was waking up. Inside a black tower, hundreds of screens showed quiet towns and sleeping cities. Machines hummed, data flowed. But one monitor kept flashing red, again and again. Sector Z-17, Zalara Prime. An old technician named Rovan was working the night shift. Bored and half asleep, he noticed the flashing light. He sighed and tapped the screen. Not again. He zoomed in. The satellite view showed only smoke and ruins, same as always. But then something moved. It was small at first, just a shadow between two broken towers. Then another. And another. Rovan leaned closer. His eyes widened. 5 figures, walking. Alive. No, that can't be right, he whispered. He tried to zoom again, but the feed cut off. Static. Then the lights flickered. All the screens turned black. On every screen, the same message appeared in bright red text. We remember. The fire, do you? Rovan stepped back, his heart racing. He reached for the alarm, but the system was already down. Before the lights returned, a low voice played through the speakers. She burned our bodies. She thought that was the end. But fire is not death. Fire is rebirth. At the edge of Queen, Phyrexa's empire, rumors began to spread, first in whispers at smuggler bars, then across hidden channels, then in panicked government reports, dead humans seen in restricted zone, unknown group walking among the ashes. Burned ones. Returned? The Queen sat in her high fortress, watching these reports in silence. She had not aged. Her metal skin still shone like black glass, but her eyes were different now. Nervous. She recognized the symbol that appeared in every hacked feed. A circle, with 5 glowing stars. She whispered the name of the forbidden project. Project Emberborn. Back on Zalara Prime, the ground cracked with every step the 5 figures took. They did not speak. Not yet. Each one carried the same brand, the burn mark, given by Queen Phyrexa's staff 10 years ago. But it no longer looked like a wound. Now it glowed. It pulsed softly with blue light, like a living thing. The leader, a man named Kyle, stopped at the ruins of what was once his home. He looked around at the ashes. I remember this place, he said quietly. A second figure, tall and silent, placed a hand on Kyle's shoulder. You remember fire, the voice said. But do you remember who lit it? Kyle closed his eyes. Flashes of pain returned, flames, screams, the Queen's cold voice. He opened his eyes again, but now there was no fear in them, only rage. I remember everything. In a hidden base far from the Empire, a rebel captain received a strange signal. It wasn't from Earth. It wasn't from any known source. It was old human code, broken and burned into the message. The signal said only, "The dead ones are awake." Attached was a short video. It showed 5 shadowy figures standing in front of a burning city. One of them turned and looked directly at the camera. His eyes glowed silver. Then he spoke. Phyrexa thinks she buried us, but she planted seeds instead. The screen faded. The rebel captain watched the video 3 times. Then he stood and said, "Find them. If they are what I think they are, they may be the only hope left." Kale and his team walked into the underground tunnels beneath the old colony. Here, where the light never reached, they found something waiting. It was not alive, but it spoke. A machine built long before humans arrived. Half buried, half broken, alien tech, glowing with the same blue light as their marks. As they approached, the machine came to life. "Welcome back. Emberborn. Kale froze. You know who we are? The machine replied. You are the 5 who passed through the flame and survived. The Queen tried to destroy you, but in doing so, she gave you to us. Another member of the group, a woman named Rhea, stepped forward. What are we now? She asked. The machine answered, not human, not alien, something in between. You carry the fire, and fire cannot be controlled. The machine showed them more, the truth of what happened. The Queen had not just punished them. She had experimented on them, used old alien tech buried under Zalara Prime to twist their DNA. She wanted to make perfect soldiers, beings who could walk through fire and never die. But it had gone wrong. The 5 had escaped the lab during the wipe attack. Somehow the machine had saved them, rebuilt them, changed them. Now they were no longer just humans. They were Emberborn. As they left the tunnels, Kale said just one thing. She turned us into monsters. Fine. Let's show her what her monsters can do. Meanwhile, Queen Virexa stood before her. Private guards. They are alive, she said, and they are angry. Her voice did not shake, but her fingers did. I want them found and destroyed again. The general beside her hesitated. But, my queen, they already died once. Virexa turned slowly toward him. Her eyes burned brighter than before. Then make them die a second time. And if they return again, she paused. Then I'll burn the galaxy. The ones who came back. The night sky over Zalara Prime never changed. It was always red now, burned, broken, angry. But tonight, 5 shadows stood beneath it, watching the stars with eyes that no longer saw the world like before. They were not human anymore. But they remembered what it felt like. They were the Emberborn, the ones who died. And then came back. Kale stood in silence near the ruins of the old city square. 10 years ago, this was where they were branded, where fire took everything. Now it was quiet, too quiet. He touched the glowing mark on his chest. The pain was gone, but the fire was still inside him. One by one, the others gathered around him. The second was Rhea, sharp-eyed, fast, and always calm, even in chaos. She had once been a rescue pilot. Now her veins glowed faint blue in the dark. Her body could shift through space in a blink. One moment she stood beside Kyle. The next, she was at the edge of a broken tower. I scanned the air again, she said. They're watching us, drones, high orbit. Kyle nodded. Let them watch. Then came Torin, the strongest among them. Once a soldier, now a force of nature. His skin had turned grayish-black, and heat pulsed under it. His fists could break steel. Fire answered when he called it. He didn't speak much, but when he did, people listened. She's preparing hunters, Torin said. I felt it. Same energy as her old guard. She remembers us. The fourth was Lysa, the tech mind. She had died with wires in her hands, trying to shut down the Queen's control systems. Now, machines listened to her voice. Her brain was fused with a lost alien AI. She could speak to satellites and break them. Her voice was quiet but sharp. She doesn't just remember, she said. She's afraid. The last was Jace, the one who almost didn't survive. He had once been the youngest medic in the colony. Now his body healed faster than nature allowed. But his memories came and went. Flashes of pain. Pieces missing. He stared at the sky. I keep dreaming of the fire, he said. But in the dream, I'm the one who started it. The others said nothing. They knew what he meant. They were not a team. Not really. They were survivors of a death that never finished. Each of them had been touched by something alien, something deep in the soil of Zalara Prime, buried long before humans arrived. The Queen had tried to use that power. She failed. Now, the power had chosen its own warriors. That night, Kale gathered the team in what was left of the old command bunker. Dust fell from the ceiling. Broken screens blinked, but the center table still worked. A map lit up, showing the Queen's empire. She had spread like a disease, 50 worlds now, 5 new prisons, hundreds of human colonies crushed or re-educated. She didn't stop after us, Rhea said. No, Kale replied. She tested her weapon on us, then she perfected it. Jace stepped forward. Then we burn it all down. Kale nodded slowly. Yes, but smart, precise. One fire at a time. Their first mission would be a signal strike, a message to the Queen. Target, facility, Theta 9 location, orbiting moon in the Freya system. Purpose, human cloning and mind control research guarded by elite Virexan soldiers, time to reach 18 hours. They moved without ships, without engines. They traveled through heat, through fire, through the strange energy that now lived inside them. One by one, they vanished in streaks of blue flame. Theta 9 was a floating nightmare, a black cube orbiting a dead moon. Inside, rows of human bodies hung like puppets, half alive, wired into machines. A technician walked the corridor unaware. Then the lights flickered, the temperature rose, and Kale stepped through the wall of flame. The facility erupted in chaos. Guards ran. Alarms screamed. But nothing stopped the Emberborn. Rhea blinked behind a security chief and disarmed him before he could shout. Torin punched through armored walls. Lysa took control of the AI and made it turn on itself. Jace moved like a ghost, healing wounded prisoners and leading them to escape pods. And Kale walked through fire, untouchable, unstoppable. He reached the main control room. There, on a massive screen, Queen Virexa's face appeared, cold, angry, afraid. You, she said. Kale stared at her. You burned us. You buried us. But you forgot what fire does. Virexa's image glitched. I made you, she hissed. No, Kale said. You woke us. The facility exploded behind them. From orbit, it looked like a dying star, bright, then silent. A message was left behind, burned into the moon's surface in ancient alien symbols. We are not your weapons. We are your end. Back on her throne, Queen Virexa watched the smoke rise on her screens. Her generals stood silent. They're not human anymore, one said. No, the Queen replied. They are worse. She turned toward a secret door behind her throne. Activate protocol, Black Sun. Prepare the hunters. Her eyes narrowed. They think they are fire? She smiled coldly. Then I'll show them the void. Somewhere in the void, far from any sun, a prison stirred. A door opened. And something old, something darker than fire, opened its eyes. Marked by fire, forged by death. The Emberborns had vanished again. After destroying Facility Theta 9, they disappeared into the ether, leaving behind smoke, fear, and one message. We are not your weapons. We are your end. Across the galaxy, silence followed. But it wasn't peace. It was the silence before a storm. Inside the Queen's inner palace, deep under the iron fortress of Virex's Prime, her High Council stood in fear. Only the Queen was calm. They believe they have power, she said, her voice echoing like metal grinding on bone. But I was the one who reached into the void. I was the one who lit the first fire. The generals bowed low, afraid to speak. She turned to her science commander. Unlock protocol, Black Sun. Hesitated, but, Your Majesty, that prison has not been touched for thousands of years. I said unlock it. With a trembling hand, he pressed the code. Far away, in the cold shadows of the Iskalon Rift, a signal reached a forgotten place, a sphere floating. In space older than the Queen's empire, older than humans. Inside it, something opened its eyes and screamed. Meanwhile, the Emberborns regrouped at a hidden station built beneath a dried-out star, a dead system no longer listed on any map. Rhea stood at the edge of a broken balcony, staring out at the collapsed sun. There's something wrong, she said softly. Kale approached. You feel it too? Rhea nodded. The fire inside us, it's changing. Jace leaned against a pillar nearby. His hands were glowing faintly, flickering between blue and gold. It's like something is pulling at us. Lisa ran a scan. On them all. What she found shook her to the core. These markings, she said, pointing to the brands on their bodies. They aren't just scars or symbols. They're keys. Kale frowned. Keys to what? Lisa brought up a hologram, an alien pattern older than any known language. Before the Queen built her empire, she found something under Zalara Prime. A relic. Not Virexen, not even from this galaxy. It spoke in pulses. It offered her knowledge. Rhea narrowed her eyes. The relic made us. No, Lisa said. It tried to warn her. She misunderstood. She used it to create the Emberborn, but she awoke something else with us. Torin stepped forward. His fists were clenched. Then what are we? Lysa looked at them all. You're not weapons. You're seals, holding something back. Kyle sat in silence. Memories flooded his mind. Memories that weren't his. Fires, stars collapsing, voices whispering in dead languages. The fire inside him wasn't just his power. It was a signal, a beacon. Back in the Iskalon rift, the prison sphere cracked. Chains of dark energy broke. Alarms from a forgotten age wailed into empty space. Inside, a figure floated, wrapped in shadows, marked in symbols that glowed the same blue as the Emberborn. It was once a living god, a destroyer of suns, the first fireborn, and now it was awake. Kyle led the team deep into the underground ruins of old Zalara, the forbidden zone they once fled from. They needed answers. Inside a collapsed lab, they found Project Emberborn's core chamber, still burning, still humming with ancient energy. On the wall were carvings, not Virexen, not human, something older. Rhea translated with Lysa's help. 5 will burn, 5 will rise, 5 will bind the gate. Behind the wall they found sealed stasis pods, broken but not empty. Inside were failed Emberborn, earlier experiments, twisted, mutated, still half alive. Jace covered his mouth. They tried to make us before we ever volunteered. Kale looked at one pod. The face inside looked almost like his. They weren't just creating soldiers. They were trying to contain something. Lisa touched the control panel. Ancient data filled the room. The Queen wanted more than control. She wanted to become immortal. She tried to use this alien fire to rewrite herself. She failed, Kyle said, so she threw us into the flames instead. Suddenly alarms blared across the ruins. A new energy signature was incoming, something massive. Above the ruins, the sky cracked open. A black ship emerged, unlike any the Queen had used before. No engines, no lights. It moved like a shadow, alive. Hungry, the Emberborn looked up. What is that? Torin growled. Lysa's face went pale. She's unleashed it. She opened the prison. The ship descended without sound, and then the voice came. Low. Endless. Cold like deep space. Fire is not your gift. It is your curse. You carry what belongs to me. A figure stepped out of the ship. Tall. Cloaked in ash. Face wrapped in fire. Chains. It was the void-bound king. The first and last of the ancient ones the Queen disturbed. He looked at Kale. You burn because I allow it. Now return my flame. Kale stepped forward. No, he said. We were made by pain, but now we fight with purpose. The king's eyes glowed. Then you will burn again. Properly this time. The ruins erupted in battle. The king summoned creatures of fire and shadow, burnt spirits, the souls of all those who died in Queen Virexa's experiments. The Emberborn fought like never before. Torin turned the ground into magma. Rhea blinked between enemies, cutting them down in blurs of motion. Lysa hacked the very ground systems to turn defense grids against the invaders. Jace shielded fallen rebels, his own wounds healing as he fought on. Kale faced the king himself. Their fire clashed in the air, blue against black. For a moment the king was pushed back, but before he vanished into smoke, he whispered one final warning. You delay the end, you do not stop it. The queen is not your enemy. She is your beginning. Silence fell once more. The ruins smoldered. The team stood among ash and broken stone. Kale turned to his team. We were burned by the queen. Rhea nodded. Branded for her war. But now, Torrin said, his fists still glowing, we fight for something bigger. Kale looked up at the stars. We are not fire anymore. We are forged by death, and we decide who burns next. Far away, Queen Virexa stood in her chamber, watching the reports. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but excitement. They finally met him, she whispered. Good. Now the real game begins. She turned toward a hidden chamber behind her throne, one that even her generals didn't know existed. Inside, 5 other stasis pods waited, glowing softly, voices in the walls. The Emberborn were not sleeping. Not anymore. Ever since the battle with the void-bound king, silence had become dangerous. Stillness became something to fear. Every second without action, something whispered just behind their thoughts. They hid now in an abandoned Virexan listening station, carved into a dying moon's crust. Wind howled through the broken structure, but no one heard it. The deeper they went, the more it felt like the moon was watching them. Kale walked slowly through the corridors, torchlight casting strange shadows on the walls. They were looking for answers, but it felt like the answers were already looking for them. Jace was the first to hear the voice. It came as a whisper, then a name, then full sentences. At first he thought it was his own voice thinking out loud. Then it said something only the queen could have known. You still remember the smell of burning flesh, and don't you? He froze. He turned to Rhea, but she hadn't spoken. She just stared at a data panel, unaware. Jace touched his branded skin. The burn pulsed. Hot. Alive. And then it whispered again. You weren't saved. You were stolen. Back in the command chamber, Lysa found an encrypted file buried under a false floor. The station had once been used by the Queen's psychic division, Project Mirror Voice. She opened the file, and a pulse of static filled the room. The hologram glitched, then showed an old experiment log. Project Mirror Voice. Test number 417. Subject: Human designation J19. Objective: mental reconnection through burned neural threading. Result: partial. Voice attached. Unstable. Side effect: subject believes thoughts are his own. Kyle leaned in. J19. That's Jace. Jace stood outside the room, staring at the cracked walls. He could feel something inside them. Not just energy. Memories. Pain. Screams. His own face. But wrong. Smiling at things he couldn't remember doing. He pressed his hand to the wall, and the wall whispered, We know what you did, before the fire. Suddenly, a crack opened behind the metal. Dust spilled. A hidden room was revealed. He stepped in, alone. Inside was a chair. Old, rusted, surrounded by needles and wires. On the wall, hundreds of photos, faces of humans, most with the Emberborn brand. In the center, a young man's face. His own. Jace stepped forward. His heart was pounding. Then he heard it clearly now. A second voice inside him. Not alien, not artificial, but him. Another version. Trapped, buried, and angry. Outside, Kale and the others heard a scream. They ran to the hidden room and found Jace on the floor, shaking, his eyes glowing gold now, not blue. Rhea rushed to his side. Jace, what happened? He looked at her with confusion and fear. I think there's someone inside me. Lysa connected his brain to the relic scanner they had recovered. What she saw terrified her. Jace's brain wasn't just alive. It was split. Half of it pulsed with emberborn energy. The other half, older, deeper, glowed with a dark golden signal. Not alien, not human. It matched the energy of something found in the Queen's private vault on Virexis Prime. Echo Core. Nur 3. Kyle leaned in. What's an echo core? Lysa explained quietly. Mental backup storage. She copied people. Burned their souls into crystal. Kale's eyes narrowed. And Jace? She didn't just brand him. She burned someone else's consciousness into him. Jace sat silently. The voice had grown quiet for now, but he knew it was still there. Not just a voice, a memory, a whole person. And the worst part? That other version of himself didn't want revenge. He wanted control. In another part of the station, Torrin stood at a wall covered in ancient carvings. Something kept drawing him there. It wasn't human writing, but he could feel its meaning. He touched the wall, and fire burned across the surface. It revealed a symbol, a hand reaching for a star, and the star pulling back. What is this place? He muttered. Rhea, meanwhile, was deep in the command logs. She found something strange, buried footage from years before the fire. The Queen had visited this station many times. Alone, no guards, in one clip she stood before the chair and whispered something. Burn the soul, bind the will, burn the soul, bind the will. Again and again, she wasn't torturing people, she was binding them. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the station. Kale spun around. How? We're off-grid. Rhea pointed to a blinking signal. Something's broadcasting us. From inside, they turned toward Jace, whose eyes had gone fully gold. It's not me, he cried. I didn't. Kale raised a hand. We believe you, but something inside you doesn't want to stay quiet. Outside, a fleet of black ships was approaching fast, not just the Queen's standard army. These ships bore a new symbol, a burning mask. Rhea's eyes widened. She's sending the Whisper Shade Hunters, Kale spoke quickly. We run now, but… Jace didn't move. I can't. If I leave this place, he'll come with me. If I stay, maybe I can trap him here. Rhea grabbed his arm. You're not staying. We'll fight him together. The voice inside Jace laughed. You can't fight what you've already become. The team escaped as the hunters landed. Torrin stayed behind for a few extra seconds, rigging the station's core to overload. As the Emberborn ship disappeared into the stars, the moon exploded behind them. But the signal did not stop. The Queen in her throne smiled. She listened as a new voice entered her private channel. Echo Core Nur 3 active. Link remains. Her eyes glowed. Good, she whispered. Let the boy carry my ghost. Let him lead them to me. In Ihor. The Emberborn ship. Jace stared at his reflection. His face looked like his, but the eyes did not. The betrayal code the Emberborn were drifting through the outer void, far from any known system aboard their cloaked ship Ashfall. They should have felt safe. But safety was an illusion. Jace hadn't spoken in 2 days, not since the Whisper Core. Inside him began speaking in Queen Virexa's voice. Rhea sat outside his quarters, watching the sealed door like a silent guardian. Inside, Jace stared at the wall. His fingers tapped the same rhythm again and again. Burn the soul, bind the will. Burn the soul, bind the will. He didn't remember when he started, but he couldn't stop. Sometimes when he looked in the mirror, the reflection blinked before he did. In the command room, Kale reviewed Lisa's latest scans. Her face was pale. He's changing, she said. Kyle nodded slowly. Is it her? It's not fully her. It's a copy, a fragment, but it's smart. It knows how to wait, to wear him down. Kyle clenched his jaw. Can we remove it? Lysa looked at him. If we try, it might kill him. Torrin was less patient. He pounded his fist on the metal wall. We should have left him back there. He's a risk. He's one of us, Rhea said. Is he? Torrin shot back. Because Last time I checked, he nearly got us all killed with that signal. The team was falling apart. The fire inside them flickered differently now. Colder. Distant. Something had changed since the Whisper Core activation. Kyle watched it all happen, feeling a slow dread settle in his chest. This wasn't just a war. This was a hunt. And they were being herded toward something. That night, Kyle found a small data chip inside his armor. It wasn't his. He scanned it. A short video played. It was a secret recording from the past. From before the Emberborn project. It showed someone standing with the Queen. Someone Kale knew. Rhea. Younger. In full Virexan uniform. Virex's voice echoed through the clip. You will watch them. Guide them. And when the time is right, trigger the code. Kale's blood ran cold. He didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he called a private meeting with Lisa. She was with the Queen. Lisa didn't look surprised. I've suspected it. She knows too much about Virex's movements, she always has. Kale whispered. You think she's still working for her? Lisa hesitated. I think she might not even know anymore. At the same time, Rhea stood alone in the training chamber. The fire in her veins had been harder to control lately. Every time she blinked, she saw flashes of a memory that didn't feel like hers. In the mirror, she saw herself holding the Queen's brand. Smiling, was it real or planted? The next morning, the Emberborn received a transmission, encrypted. Ancient code. From unknown origin. Message. The Queen's throne is empty. She moves in silence. Her true form is not yet born. Come to the deep core vault. See what lies beneath. Attached. Coordinates in the Abyss Verge, the coldest, most lawless region in the galaxy. Kale gathered the team. This might be it. Answers. Proof. Maybe even the Queen's death plan. No one argued. But trust had already begun to bleed from the cracks. As they neared the Abyss Verge, the temperature dropped. Even the ship's systems flickered. The deep core vault appeared like a wound in space, a spinning ring station, slowly breaking apart. No life signs, no guards, only a voice repeating over and over. The truth is inside. Come and see. They landed. The station was quiet. Too quiet. Inside, the walls were covered in old Virexan symbols, mixed with alien patterns. The Queen had been here, but she had not built this. She had found it. In the central chamber, they discovered the original Emberborn pod, the first one ever created. Inside it, a burned corpse, branded. Arms crossed. Kale stared at the face. It was his own. Shock froze. Them, Kale stumbled back. No, that can't be. Lisa scanned the pod. It's you, she said quietly. A version of you. Died during Trial 1. She must have cloned you. Reset you. Kyle whispered. Then who am I? That was when the betrayal began. The doors slammed shut. The chamber sealed. And from the shadows, Rhea stepped forward. Her eyes glowing gold. Kale's breath caught. Rhea. She looked at him, confused, torn. Then her voice changed. It became hers. Queen Virexa. You did well, my child. The other stepped back. Jace clutched his head, screaming. She's in both. Of us. Kyle raised his hand, fire surging. What did you do to her? But the Queen spoke through Rhea again. I didn't change her. I made her. She was my failsafe, my eye inside the fire. Rhea fought the control. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't know. I swear she buried it deep. I never wanted this. Lisa pulled her weapon. We can't trust her now. Kyle, say the word. But Kale saw the pain in Rhea's face. And he remembered the years, the battles, the time she saved him. She's not the enemy, he said. She was, Kale, Torin growled. And she still might be. The Queen's voice faded. But her plan had already worked. The team stood in a circle, weapons half raised, trust shattered. The Queen had broken something no fire could fix. Suddenly, the vault began to collapse. The Queen's voice echoed one final time. You are not heroes. You are echoes. Burned, broken, borrowed. I made you, and I can unmake you. Kale grabbed Rhea's hand and pulled her as the ceiling fell. The team escaped barely. But everything had changed. Back aboard the Ashfall, silence ruled. Torin refused to speak. Lisa avoided Rhea, and Jace now heard two voices. One was his, the other was Kale's. In the dark of the ship, Rhea stood alone. She whispered to herself, "Who am I, if I was never really me?" Kale stepped behind her, resting a hand on her shoulder. Maybe we were all made, burned, branded, but now we choose who we become. In a distant chamber, Queen Virexa watched from her throne of ash. Her real body, now more machine than flesh, floated inside a cocoon of fire and wires. She had triggered Protocol Genesis, and her final creation was almost ready. "Let them come," she whispered. "They will return home, and they will kneel. Ashes shall rise." The ship Ashfall hovered silently in orbit above Virexa's prime, the Queen's throne world. Below them, the planet burned with gold and black fire. Massive Virexan warships circled the skies like vultures. The world was fully weaponized. Armored, towers, sky cannons, shield walls. This was no longer a palace. It was a fortress of fear. The Emberborn stood in silence, each in their own corner of the ship. Torin loaded his fists with flame charges. Lysa stared into a cracked screen, her reflection glitching. Jace whispered back and forth to himself. Rhea held her head low, her guilt still glowing in her veins. And Kale? Kale stood at the center, silent. They had come to end this, but none of them were certain who would survive. Mission objective: breach the core of Virexus Prime, destroy the Queen's eternal heart, free the Emberborn network end. The War Unknowns. What the Queen had become. What she was hiding beneath the throne. What Kale truly was. As the Ashfall dove into the planet's atmosphere, Kale sent one final message across the stars. To all who still burn. This is not a battle. This is rebirth. We are not her soldiers. We are not her shadows. We are what happens when pain survives fire. The ship crashed through the outer defense wall like a comet of vengeance. Shields shattered. Towers collapsed. The Emberborn emerged into chaos. Their fire didn't burn red. It burned blue. Pure, controlled, chosen. They tore through the Queen's armies. No more hesitation. No more fear. Lysa sent pulses into the ground, shutting down defense grids. Torin melted tanks with a single punch. Rhea blinked between towers, cutting through command links with precision. Jace carried the Whisper Core inside him like a dying star. But now, instead of fearing it, he held it in check. His pain became his weapon. And Kale led them all. Not as a clone. Not as a creation, but as a man who refused to stay dead. They reached the throne spire, the heart of Virexa's empire. Inside, the lights flickered like breathing lungs. The walls were alive, pulsing with memory, screaming with whispers, echoes of every soul the Queen had burned trapped within the very stone, and at the center, the throne. But it was empty. Kale stepped forward, cautious. Then the floor opened. The true throne rose from below, an obsidian cocoon suspended in gold fire. Inside it, Queen Virexa floated, no longer flesh, no longer alien. She had become code. Metal, memory, and flame. She opened her eyes. They were made of light and death. "You have come to kneel," she said, voice split in echoes. "No," Kale replied. "We've come to bury you." The Queen laughed, a sound like breaking glass and thunder. "I made you. I forged you. You are sparks from my forge. Without me, you are nothing." Lysa stepped forward. "Then why are you afraid?" The Queen's cocoon cracked slightly. She didn't answer. Instead, she summoned the final guard. Not soldiers, but other Emberborn. Twisted. Failed. burned alive again and again, created to obey. They attacked like shadows set on fire. Final battle began. Rhea and Torin held the front lines, slamming through the corrupted ones with fire and flame. Lysa hacked the spire's core, trying to bring down its defenses. Jace faced a version of himself, literally, a whisper core body rebuilt from his past. "You are me," the echo said. Jace grinned. "No, I'm what survived you." They clashed, light against light, voice against voice. Kael reached the queen. Her cocoon opened, and she floated down, her body now a twisted fusion of wires, armor, and royal elegance. But her face was human. She had used Kael's DNA to build herself. "I took your fire," she said, "and I became eternal." Kael's brand burned brighter than ever. "You didn't take it," he said, "you woke it." They fought. Their clash lit up the throne like a second sun. Every strike from her echoed with stolen power. Every strike from him echoed with earned pain. She tried to brand him again. He grabbed the branding staff and turned it against her. But just as Kael was about to strike the final blow, she whispered, "If I die, so do the others." She showed him the truth. The Emberborn were connected, not just by fire, but by code. Her code. Kill her, and the fire dies with her. Kael froze. He looked at his team, still fighting, still believing in him. He looked at Rhea, who had once betrayed them, but now stood, bloodied, holding the line. He looked at Jace, still battling, his own mind yet standing tall. He looked at himself and he smiled. "I was born in fire. I died in fire. And if we burn again, we'll rise again." He plunged the branding staff into the queen's heart. A shockwave burst across the tower. Fire, light, screaming code. The throne cracked. The spire shook. Jace collapsed. Lysa vanished. In a burst of blue light, Torin's roar echoed as he was buried under stone. Rhea grabbed Kael's body as it fell, burning. "I got you," she whispered, tears falling. "I got you." Silence. Then, something new. From the cracked remains of the throne, fire flowed. But it was no longer angry. It was calm, warm, golden. A figure rose, Kael. Not as he was, but as he chose to be. No longer Emberborn, human, whole, free. One by one, the others awakened. Changed. No brands, no voices, just themselves. The queen was gone. Her code broken, her fire freed. Above Vyrex's prime, signals lit up across the stars. The fire had been passed on, not controlled. Across human colonies, Vyrex's systems failed. Her armies disbanded, her prisons opened. People saw the sky glow blue and they whispered the new name. The Ashborn. Not forged by a queen, not built by pain, but reborn by choice. In the end, Kael stood where her throne once was, Rhea beside him, Jace, Lysa, Torin, scarred, limping, alive. He lit a small torch in his hand, not as a weapon, but as a signal. "Let the galaxy know," he said. "We were burned, we were branded, we were broken, but we rose, and now we burn on our own terms."